Zoe Kazan was born in Los Angeles, California, to screenwriters Nicholas Kazan and Zoe Swicord. She received her BA in theater from Yale University. The audio here is from 3 short videos by the Off-Camera Show with Sam Jones.
To be any kind of artist, but I think an actor especially, you have to have a direct route inside to the most vulnerable place, but you also have to have a really thick skin to be able to deal with...
Are you reading my journals?
No, but to me that seems in some ways contradictory, that you have to have a pipeline. So how do you deal with that contradiction?
I definitely err too far on the sensitive side. So the thick skin part is really hard for me.
Yeah.
And I think that writing for me is another way of trying to like work through the excess I feel, that if I just had acting, not having a thick enough skin would be a much bigger problem for me. Writing to me feels like a direct antidote to the sort of morass of time that an actor can feel. And I think my capacity for joy is so great that if people meet me when I'm in one place, they would get a kind of impression about me that speaks to one thing, and then if someone saw me in a different light, I would be a completely different person, but it's the same tree, just without leaves or with leaves. And I have this memory of, so when I was, my depression and my anorexia were really linked, and the worst depression that I went through was when I was in the midst of my eating disorder. I was in college, and it was my first year of college, and I had never spent a winter on the East Coast before. So I remember like the daffodils coming up outside my therapist's office in New Haven and being like so angry at them and feeling like they're a lie. Like, they're a lie. Things don't get better. Like, the winter is still cold. These flowers have come up and I'm still wearing my parka. Things don't get better. This spring, the heat will never come back. Like, I can't feel my toes. Like, I was so angry at these daffodils. And then the next year, I was in love for the first time. And I was doing much better, and I was like walking into my therapist's office and saw those same daffodils and was like, things bloom again. The truth of nature is all around me. Like, I am one with the universe, and we're all blooming, and I'm blooming, and it's the same daffodils.
Your parents being screenwriters that wrote for actors, it's surprising to me that they would be so against it.
I think they know it's a really hard life.
Right.
And frankly, I think they also felt like I was talented as a writer, and I think they
wanted to see that happen.
Yeah.
What message did that send you?
It just made me more stubborn about it.
It did.
Yeah,
So note to self and to all parents out there, don't oppose anything vehemently, because...
Yeah, I know. Like they were like, no motorcycles and no cigarettes, and I was like, like,
really?
Yeah. Like, anything they told me not to do, I was like, well, I'm going right for that then.
It should have been like, no kale.
I know, they really should have.
And no yard work.
Exactly. No, I saved all of my money from like babysitting and being like, I was a camp counselor, and paid for my own acting classes and took the bus before I could drive to acting class. I was like bound and determined to show them that I was serious and that I was... Yeah.
What do you think they were most afraid of?
Me being unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my dad grew up around actors, and, because his dad's a director and I don't think, and they had friends who were actors, and I don't think they felt like anybody was really happy, particularly actresses. And, I think they were worried, and I would be if my child came home and said, I want to be an actor. I think it would be like my worst nightmare.
Really?
I just think it's a really tough, horrible profession.
Yeah.
I really do.
Does it still feel that way to you?
Okay, so there's a difference between the work and the profession.
Right.
Right. The work is like when the word and your impulse and your emotional life all connect up, and it's really like nothing else in the world. It's like your whole body is electric, and like you chase that. But I think the profession is cruel, and particularly to women. And it gets harder as you get older, which is horrible. Like, DPs become like more venerated as they get older, and really that's how it should be with actors too. And for some reason we don't want to tell the stories of older people. And you are being judged on like your looks and your like sexual viability when that has no connection to the actual work. So and most actresses I know are miserable. So, or miserable with their careers. You're encouraged to feel like you're always on a treadmill trying to get somewhere that you'll never get. They're like climbing that mountain, and that's horrible.
If you say no, you're pushing away this work that so many people want.
Right. I'm very generous when I read things. Like, when work comes to me, I'm often like, well, I could figure it out. I could make it work. Right. I go into a place where I get like very like, I can fix it. I can make it work. And I think I stopped wanting to do that at a certain point. But I also feel, and maybe this goes to what we were talking about before we were on camera, like, I think in the last 3 years, in my 30s, I suddenly felt like my life had value outside of my work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
you didn't feel that way before.
I think it was really hard for me to feel like I had value outside of my accomplishments.
Interesting.
I was like a really precocious kid. I was like an A student. I went to an Ivy League school. Like, I think there was something ingrained in me that
this
was
is
like,
how people would perceive value in you, is through the work you did, rather than just you being you.
Right. That. And also, like, how can I be helpful to someone else? Like, a real pleaser.
You say that word like with such disdain.
Well, you know, love to please teacher. So I think that, like, my sort of like workaholicness was like attached to that. Like, I want to leave something of meaning behind. I want to keep building my like quote unquote career. And I don't know, in the last 3 years I was like, oh, like, I only get one life, and my experience of it really matters, and my happiness matters, and time with friends is as important as whatever. I don't know, I think that there's a false construct, an idea that you can leave a legacy behind of some kind, and freeing myself from that has allowed me to think a lot more about how I want to live my life.
See much more in related article.